Hello and welcome to episode 1066 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Tuesday, June 14th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this afternoon, still morning for him, Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, afternoon.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Finished my pitcher ranks.
Mm-hmm.
Spent a lot of time on them all day yesterday, some time this morning. No matter how I do the process, no matter what I think, it's always longer than because I'm not satisfied to not like deep dive
Every single
anybody I
play.
write something about. Yeah, like I can't help it.
And
so
for those who have not seen it, definitely go and check it out because it's not just a ranking. Like it all goes like Paul does like real long work into this, and like I mean it's like when I update my ranks, which I'll hopefully have done by the end of the week, maybe even by Friday, so we can discuss mine on Friday.
That'd be perfect.
We'll see how I'm gonna try. I'm not going to do what Paul did. I'm just going to do a list.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like that for the in-season ranking. I just figured it's been 2 months. I want to get out a bunch of thoughts on a lot of players, of where I stand with these pitchers since I haven't done it recently. I'm aiming for 3 to 4 week intervals going forward, so there should be another couple lists over the course of the summer for sure. They won't always be as deep as this, but this deserved a big refresh. So go check it out on the site. And Justin's got some questions for me about some different players and different things that he saw. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to kind of just start at the top, right?
Sure.
And your top of your list is still Garrett Cole. Though,
yes.
To be fair, Garrett Cole was not at the top of your list, right? At the beginning.
Yeah, no, he was. He stayed number one.
Okay, I couldn't. For some reason, I thought you had
I considered
Buehler or someone else up there.
I ended up with Buehler at 2, and then as high as 2, and then dropped to 4. But in the end, I just came back to Cole. And even right now, he's coming off of the ugly outing, the 5 homers against Minnesota. That does nothing for me. That's an awful outing, but it's not actionable in any real way. Homers are probably the worst part of his game right now, but everything else is so elite. Who else do you feel that much more confident in? Because they are a 3-4 week focus, I did feel comfortable putting McClanahan 2, and maybe even could have put him 1, because any sort of innings concerns, if they crop up, won't be until later. But in the end, I still went Cole number 1, because if you said, give me the pitcher to go get who's going to do the best from here forward, even though I don't like to look rest of season when there's so much left, it would still be Cole. So that's enough to earn the top spot.
And there will be some discussions about guys that I'm worried about or may have innings problems moving forward. But I mean, it's hard to not make the argument for Cole at number 1. I am pretty sure he's going to be my number 1, but I think anybody who is in the top 4 right now, at least top 4 of your list, should be in consideration.
I think so too.
And for reference, that is Garrett Cole, Shane McClanahan, Corbin Burns, and Zach Wheeler.
Yeah, any of those 4 could be 1, and I don't really have an issue with it. You could put JV 1 too. I didn't. I'm sure people are surprised that I didn't. I think you got to kind of have that massive 30+% strikeout rate to really hit number 1. And I know that Wheeler's just under it, but he's been so dominant. So that's probably what would keep Verlander from 1, and what would be my big argument if somebody did try to put him there. But I think those top 4 can definitely go there.
Speaking of Verlander, I'm going to take my L.
There we go.
I was not in on Verlander. I'm still concerned about where he will finish in terms of innings rest of the way, and if he can, hold a massive workload. But I mean, I think Houston has no reason not to just run him out there as long as his body can hold up.
Who aren't you worried about that with?
I think that's a fair question.
Small list of guys, right?
Yep. Then I think that's why it's completely fair to have him 6, where you do have him there. And like I said, I'm just taking my L. I said people shouldn't be drafting him even close to where he was going. I can't remember exactly where I had him, but it was outside of my top 40 starting pitchers for sure. I'll eat that one. I still think my process was right, but the results, I think Verlander is one of the few unicorns that exist. And when there's a unicorn, you should ignore them.
You can't really go too wrong selling on 38-year-olds returning from TJ, though.
Yeah.
All right. Like, so it's one of those where, yeah, you didn't catch the win, but I wasn't really trying to tell anybody if they weren't on board, like, you're going to regret this so hard. It's like, okay, go get somebody else you believe in. I'm a long-term Justin guy. I believe in him. So I went for it. But like, I totally get that. You cannot lose fading 39-year-old pitchers. Even when they do well, your process is still sound, like you said. You had him down at 42, so just outside the top 40. And he is the number one guy right now, probably due to the 8 wins helping him, where the other metrics would hold him back
which is huge. Wins are not easy to come by this year.
God, they're so hard.
It's been pretty brutal, especially if you're trying to stream for them. This has not been a fun year. Like I said, though, I mean, I stand by my process. There were 4 Tommy John returnee guys that were being, widely drafted, and 2 of them have been pretty disappointing, to say the least. And 2 of them have been very good. We're going to talk about another one here in a little bit. So, I mean, I stand by the process in where I got to my decision making. But, yeah, I'm also not going to sit here and pretend like it never happened or somehow I won the Verlander discussion, because I didn't.
And I definitely respect that. It's not about, berating yourself and being like, oh, it's so stupid. You're like, hey, I took the L here. As long as the processes are good, though. It's the same thing with my Badu one.
Mm-hmm.
I take the fat L on that. It was a huge loss, but I don't think the process is completely unfounded. It just did not work out. So that's what happens sometimes. These last 2 guys in the Aces tier that you have some questions about, go ahead with them.
So my questions, one is Max Fried strikeout rate going to keep him in the Aces tier? Does he deserve to be in Aces, or should he be towards the top of the next tier? And then, I mean, with Pablo Lopez, he's been fantastic. I've always been a Pablo Lopez guy, but I was fading him because of the injury concerns.
Yep.
I still worry what the workload is going to look like down the stretch. Do these guys truly deserve to be in this Aces tier?
I certainly think so. I think so, especially on a 3-4 week focus, which is what these are. These are not for the rest of the year. I think it's foolhardy to try to predict the rest of the year in a June ranking when you can change your roster and we know how much things are going to change anyway. Like what's the point? You're going to make changes. So if we focus on a more narrow field, Lopez especially, because he does have the strikeout rate. He's at 26%. He has a 14% swinging strike rate. Yes, the shoulder is a problem, and it's why I did rank him lower, because a chronic injury does merit some extra attention there as far as the injury risk on an individual pitcher when it's the same thing over and over, like it is his shoulder. But he's pitching right now, and yes, he's an ace when he's pitching. I think that you look at what he did last year. I mean, you even look at a lot of what he did in 2020 was great. So now we've got about 225, 230-ish innings of work since 2020 that I'm looking at here. That is pretty ace caliber at a 2.97 ERA and a 1.11 WHIP with a 20% strikeout minus walk rate for Pablo Lopez. That's pretty Asian as far as I'm concerned. Yes, the health risk is there, but it's there for everybody right now. Once the season starts, I'm not really judging him off of that. As for Fried, volume is how he gets there to make up for his strikeout rate. It's similar to Sandy. He has not shown the workhorse capability that Sandy Alcantara has yet, but I believe he has it in him. Couple small injuries last year really cost Fried from getting to a new high in innings, but he had 165 and 2/3, the same as 2019, but in 2 fewer starts, 5 fewer appearances, so a couple of relief appearances as well. So I do think he's headed, if healthy, for a new high, probably in the upper 180s. I think Max Fried could have a 200-inning season, and that will bridge the gap on the 23-24% strikeout rate to giving him a solid strikeout total. So guys like him and Sandy Alcantara with Max Fried, yes, the strikeout rate matters because, you just want as many as you can per inning. I totally get that. But don't sleep on the workhorses bridging that gap by pitching more volume than other guys and making their bottom line total right in line with the guys who pitch 165, 170 innings but have gaudy 30% K rates.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think, some of the issues with Atlanta's pitching is a reason why they're going to need to lean on him a little bit more. And I think they are going, they're on a huge heater right now. But I think they're going to have to continue to rely upon him, especially at the top of that rotation. So
It's time for Fried to show that he's an ace and take
Mhm.
over this rotation here.
I think I don't think I would have Lopez because of the injury concerns in this ace tier. But I do agree on Fried. But I definitely want to talk about the above them. We don't get to talk about the upper tier of pitching unless something goes horribly wrong.
Right. It's
In
usually like
season.
status quo. So it's
Yeah.
nice to talk some positivity on the upper tier guys, not
Mhm.
getting hurt or having TJ or something.
Speaking of upper tier and positivity, man, Tariq Skubal is just been phenomenal.
One of the go ahead, I'm sorry.
Please go.
I was going to say one of the lone bright spots for Tigers fans this year.
Yeah.
It's been a nightmare season, and it's kind of obscured the fact that Skubal is breaking out the way his biggest proponents had hoped, and even more. I can count myself among his biggest proponents, and I didn't think he was going to go to a half a home run per 9. And I don't believe he's going to hold that all year, but I don't think he's the 2-point whatever guy from last year either. I think he's made tangible improvements, shifting from four-seamers to sinkers, taking a lot of his fastball work in general and taking it off and putting it into his secondary pitches. Those two changes have certainly helped him keep the ball in the yard. He had 2 against Houston in Houston. Vlad Jr. got him last time in his most recent start. No shame in that. If he can be a guy who's under 1, Tariq Skubal, he's an absolute stud. And I think if we're here still with like a sub 1 homer 9 in a month, I think he might move into the aces tier based on everything else that he's doing well. And he's even snuck 5 wins, which is pretty good on a Tigers team. That's like 15 wins on a real team.
I mean, he hasn't done the reduction in the home run rate by like increasing his walk rate. Like he is, it's all about pitch mix and being effective and getting a ton of ground balls. And I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit. I think he can keep this up. Maybe not to
awesome.
the level.
Well, that's I think sub 1 is very doable, and that's a massive improvement for Skubal.
Absolutely. I mean, he's got a 47% ground ball rate, only a 34% fly ball rate. I mean, we're talking about like that was flipped last year.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why it led to so many home runs. I mean, I think he is already kind of in that borderline.
I mean, he was 14. Tier. He was right there. Yeah. So, I feel like sometimes I try to check myself on Tigers things and tangentially include Justin Verlander in that. And obviously I let my excitement go with him this year. I ranked him, 18 in the spring. But, I think I do kind of like maybe lean toward being a little bit further down on those guys just so people are like, oh, you're a homer. But I'm with you there. I did consider him. I was like, let's see a little bit more than just 12 starts. But Skubal is right there. He's 14, so he's 4th on the must-start list. He's never coming out of my lineup right now. There's absolutely no reason to take him out. Even a tough matchup, a Boston and New York, I'm still starting Skubal against everybody right now, easily.
As you should. Let's just real quick talk about his teammate Eduardo Rodriguez, because what do you think is going on there? I mean, and what are you doing? I spent $80-something on him in the main event on a stash, hoping to get him back this week because I needed pitching. Like, should I be dropping him?
I mean, probably. It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough right now. And we don't know exactly what it is. I think there's some rumors floating around about what the off the field thing is. It's really none of our business.
Yeah. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully his family's okay. Like, I mean,
obviously something is awry though that would cause you to leave the team for the foreseeable future right now in the midst of his rehab assignment.
Yeah. So sudden. He wasn't like away from the team already and just decided not to come back. He was with their minor league team.
He was supposed to be back this week.
He was supposed to start today, I believe, right? And,
so something's going on. I hope everything goes well for him because he's had off the field stuff before with when he got COVID, he got myocarditis, and that created some issues. I hope it's not health. It's said not to be health. So I think we're in the clear on that piece.
It says personal.
Yeah. And so maybe something with the family. And again, if it's something with his wife, that's none of our damn business.
Typically something with I guess it could be restricted list. This has the feeling of mental health.
Yes, more of like a Calvin Ridley, like stepping away type of thing.
Yeah, type of thing.
His obviously then the gambling thing was after, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
That's
that was
he originally
during the
left.
time he stepped away. Yeah.
Yes, he originally left due to getting his mentals right. And if that's the case with Eduardo, then that's the only consideration is to get your mentals right.
Yeah,
People
absolutely.
will say dumb stuff on Twitter. They haven't had a challenge in their life ever, right? Like it's, yes, ball players have a good life. They make a lot of money. That doesn't mean everything's easy. They never have problems.
He's walking away from this money. Like he does not get paid
exactly.
while
He
he is
doesn't get
on.
Money.
Yeah, I mean, so like
think
this is
about how
clearly
serious
super.
it is.
Yeah,
It's not just taking money and not fulfilling, the way some fans get. And you're already seeing some of it on Twitter. And it's just like, get a life, man. Have a shred of empathy. You have no idea what's going on. It could be something heinous. We have no idea. And people already start in on what are the Tigers paying him for? What am I buying all these Little Caesars pizzas for? It's like, shut up. You're an idiot. Anyway, I don't know. I just wish him the best.
Yeah.
He was pitching pretty well until that blow-up start that led to his injury with Eduardo. His numbers had been pretty good to that point. Then the injury start has now made them look really bad. And now with him going off on the restricted list, let's just hope he gets everything right and comes back and can get going again. So I don't even want to make a joke about how somebody's probably going to cry really hard now that Eduardo is out further. I guess I am in
yeah,
kind of making that joke anyway. But anytime I can twist a knife on that clown, I'm going to do that. Anyway, sorry.
I'm going to try to hold him through this week. But or through the next FAB period into next week. But I also may make the decision last minute to cut him.
It would be understandable.
I have Josh Winder and I have Jack Flaherty. So I've already got 3
Flaherty back today, right? Or tomorrow?
Oh, is he back?
I in my chat this morning, my stream, they said he was coming back today or tomorrow.
I had not seen that. That is huge for me.
Yeah, tomorrow confirmed on RotoWire.
Let's go. Let's go.
I'm psyched, dude. I
kind of wish I had thrown him in my lineup this week, but
don't worry, Lance Lynn didn't do that well in his.
I did throw Lance Lynn into my
too.
lineups,
so
and that one hurt. Yeah,
against Detroit, and he gave up 10 hits. So we don't know that Flaherty.
We'll get there in a few minutes. But yeah, that one was brutal. So let's talk about the aforementioned Luis Severino. And then Clayton Kershaw. I kind of paired them together. Both had injury concerns. Severino was coming out of the Tommy John surgery. There was thoughts that Clayton Kershaw could have Tommy John surgery. Both have been fantastic when they've been on the mound. Kershaw has missed time. He's back now. Didn't quite look like himself in his first start back.
Yeah.
But how these guys are hard to rank rest of the way because
they are because
I do worry about what their health situation be and then what their workload situation is going to be like,
especially as both teams can turn to October pretty quickly, right? Like barring collapses, both
the Yankees can. Yeah, I mean,
the Yankees,
the Dodgers. The Dodgers are in a little bit of a dogfight, and I don't know that the Yankees really want to, considering how good the rest of that division is.
No,
even with the
neither
lead.
team should take their foot off the gas anywhere near right now. But as the season grows on, maybe in my August rankings, a couple guys like that might start to come down if those teams have like double-digit leads. But for now, they're set it and forget it studs. Kershaw, there's always management, right? For the last several years now, when you're drafting him, there's going to be management. If you throw your hands up anytime in like the last 5 or 6 years that you drafted Kershaw when he gets hurt, you're an idiot. What were you expecting, right? Like,
but there always is people. Like
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, who have you been looking at the last 6 years, right? Like, this is part of the game with Kershaw. It's why he's cheaper than he should be because his inning for inning talent is still top of the scale. So you take the discount because the innings are going to be lighter, but he's still been God tier when he pitches for 34 innings, 2.12 ERA, 0.79 WHIP, 282 SIERA. For Sevy, he's back. The velo's not all the way back to 2018-19, but it's still the highest we've seen since 18. He's gone 6 innings in each of his last 5 starts. I think he's back to must-start stud status. And at 28, I don't know that they're going to be able to curb his innings that much. He has 2 190s under his belt. I think he's got a chance to push near that for a season total. Now, some of that would come in the playoffs. I think he'll probably be closer to 175 for the regular season. But then they know they have to have something in the tank for September. But with 2 190s under his belt for Severino and him being 28 years old, I don't really see them like super babying him. I don't see anything under 170 if he stays healthy. If he gets hurt, obviously all bets are off. But a healthy Sevy, I don't think is going to be overly managed here to where they're going to take a bunch of starts away from him.
Yeah, this one's brutal for me because I don't know if anybody's a bigger Severino fan than me in the industry.
And you can get him.
And I got him in one league, but I was just sticking to my guns about not touching these guys returning.
I don't blame you, man. I don't touch TJ returners either, so I don't have any Sev dog, but he's awesome.
He's amazing. And
we know that coming in though, right? That's one of those things you build in. You have to internalize. Like I might lose on this, especially with a guy you like you love Severino, and you're like, listen, I might lose here because I don't want to take him, but I love the talent. I just don't take TJ returners. So if you have a certain rule, sometimes a guy you like really tests that, but you got to stick to your guns because you have the rule for a reason. He could have easily flopped, pitched 25 innings and been done, right? So don't kick yourself too much on it. He's great. He's back. Enjoy that he's back and awesome. Unfortunately, it's not on a bunch of your teams.
Yeah. I mean, for all the talk of Garrett Cole and Nestor Cortez this year, Severino is quietly just dominating.
He's given Cole that secondary ace, and then Cortez, and even Tyone and Montgomery too. Like they run 5 deep, even though Cole is like the big name, like way high and above. Then Severino is building his name back. He has that ace name value. The other 3 guys, you're like Cortez, Tyone, and Montgomery have been studs. It's awesome though. I believe in all 3 of them to a certain degree.
It'll be interesting because I mean, you would think that a team like the Yankees, who have got the payroll that they've got, and how well they're playing, that they'd make a major addition.
Yeah, you'd think a flashier rotation too, but like where?
No, but I mean, like, where are they going to make an addition? Like, I guess the bullpen. Like, could they bring in another big?
But that wouldn't even be a flashy addition. That would be expected because any team can get bullpen reinforcements. I guess the only thing I could see is if a starter went down for like multiple months, maybe they go ahead and pull the trigger on Montas and like make a big,
or maybe a Wilson Contreras,
maybe something like that too. But Trevino's been playing really well though, and I believe he's pretty good behind the dish. In addition to the fact that he's toting a 148 WRC plus right now, he's running hot, but he does make a lot of contact too. So I don't know that Trevino's necessarily going to fall off the cliff. I don't think he's going to hold a 148, but if he could do, truthfully, if you're a positive fielding catcher, you can have like a 90 WRC plus and still be a very big benefit.
How many years did Jeff Mathis play for?
Yeah, exactly. With a freaking like 48 WRC plus. So there's a ton of wiggle room for Trevino to still be positive for the Yankees.
Let's talk about a couple White Sox guys. We got Lucas Giolito, who I took in my main event, which is awful right now. He's been a part of that awfulness. And then we have Lance Lynn, who just returned from injury, and I put him right back into my lineup, and he was awful. Do these guys deserve to be in this must-start tier?
I think so. I will say it was an awakening for me yesterday. I was unaware of Giolito's whip being that high. I knew his ERA was pretty good. I knew his core skills were pretty good, but I don't have him anywhere, so I hadn't really checked. And somebody had asked a question in Nick's Twitch chat. I was hanging out in there for a while about Giolito, and I piped up and I was like, "Oh, what's up with Giolito's fine? Like, what are you talking about?" And he's like, 388, 144 is fine. I was like, "Whoa, sorry, I am wrong. He is not fine. 144 whip is high." The thing of it is, though, with him specifically, with Giolito first, I don't think it's actionable. Where are you really sitting him? Like, how are you getting away from any of his starts right now? Yes, the home run rate is through the roof at 1.9. But he has a 31% K rate, 3.88 ERA. So you're still getting at least not a killer ERA. It's okay. The whip is hurting you for sure, and he only has 4 dubs. But I just can't see myself getting away from Giolito on any starts right now. I don't even know what kind of setup it would take for me to sit him. Maybe a situation where I have a very deep rotation and he has like 1 game at New York or something. But that's it. And I don't even really think that. I'd have to have like every breakout pitcher on my team, like Kyle Wright, and like who are the guys that are like off that were like waiver wire pickers? I'd have to have like 4 of those guys. I'm just not sitting Giolito. As for Lynn, he comes back in at a pretty high level. I ranked him 30th, I think, right? And that's kind of like what credit, right? That's credit for what he's been He gets a 2-start. I'm not going to overreact to one bad start because the Tigers couldn't even take full advantage of it. They only got 3 runs on the 10 hits.
10
The
hits,
velo is down. I know, like that's so Tigers. I'm going to give him 2 or 3 more starts before I'm going to worry. If the next one's bad, and the next one after that isn't very good, then we start to make a move. But for now, I give him 31st ranking. That's 22. That's 9 spots below where I had him in spring at 22. And we go from here. He gets at least 3 to 4 starts before I freak out about Lynn, though. This is his season debut, too, Yeah. So he hasn't even pitched yet this year.
Yeah. Did you see him yelling at his third base coach?
Yes.
The memes from that were absolutely.
It's like he's a character out there between him and Hendricks, too, right? Like, give me a game where Lynn goes 7 and Hendricks goes 2, and we'll get a lot of antics from the 2 pitchers there. They're very animated and hilarious dudes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super concerned about either guy. I mean, right now Giolito's running with a 352 BABIP. Like,
right.
It's. I mean, he's like, yes, he has not been himself. He's given up way too many home runs. You see, he's not been the kind of elite Giolito that we've seen in the past or that we drafted him for. But like you said, when are you ever sitting him? I'm not really.
I
don't even think about it with the teams that got Giolito. Like, it's just not even like on my radar that
and I don't have him, so I don't have to make the decision, but I can promise you I wouldn't have issues. The 2 worst starts that he has were home run fueled, 2 homers in each, at Tampa, at Toronto. I mean, he had a couple bad starts against a couple decent teams, like good teams. I shouldn't say decent as if they're not awesome. I mean, Toronto's better offensively than Tampa Bay, but they're both quality teams. Shit happens. Honestly, his season, Giolito's season, has really been a lot of in-season variance. He's running a high BABIP, so the hits are up, and the walks are up a little bit in concert with that, so the whip is through the roof. I could see him popping off for the entire summer. I'm not worried about Giolito in the slightest.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I'm not worried about this next guy either, by the way. I will spoil that before you even say him.
I'm not worried about it either, but there has been a velocity drop.
I know.
Eric Lauer, kind of back to where he was previously, right? We saw this velocity gain, and all of a sudden the velocity has dropped back down. Does that mean he shouldn't be in the must start here and he goes back to being old Eric Lauer?
Well, old Eric Lauer last year did post a 3.19, 1.14 ERA whip combo.
He was still pretty damn good.
Strikeout minus walk rate, right? And it was a 4.24 Sierra. The detractors would say, you can't ignore the Sierra because it's high, and I'm not ignoring it. But the bottom line is, I'm okay with a regressed Eric Lauer too, and I'm still starting him, and at least in the must-start tier now for a few starts off of the ugly outing. And another thing I will tell you, to use this as a jump-off, don't sleep on Washington, especially in Washington. That is a great hitter's park. We've been talking about that since at least this offseason here on this show. And also, their offense since May is not too bad. Like that top half of the lineup that we talked about maybe being pretty good is starting to come to fruition. They're 10th in WRC plus against lefties since May 1st. So don't sleep on them there. And you can give Lauer a little bit of a pass on that as being a difficult opponent that really got to him. It's a bad start. It counts. There's no taking it away or anything like that. But I'm saying it wasn't a walkover team that beat him up. It was a good team in a good park. So I need a few starts off of this dud before I'm going to worry about Eric Lauer. He's still must start for me.
Yeah, he is for me as well. And you'll notice that I'm not like raking Paul over the Colts because I think he did a pretty good job with these.
Thank you. That's very nice.
With these ranks. And I don't have my own ranks to compare. And
that's also true. It's
so
a lot harder.
I can't like just put it in a spreadsheet and go, hey, you've got this guy 40 spots above my guy. There are some that I'm like, whoa. Let's, we're gonna get to them.
There's always gonna be some like that. But I appreciate the kind words there. We always meme and everything. But I know even without commentary, ranks take a lot of work. Like the ones you're gonna have, just the lists. They take a lot of work, and we go through and we shuffle, and it's hard to make the decisions. So to finally come out with something that's like
in the off season when we're doing our off season list. I'm spending at least an hour a day on my ranks every day. Like, and that's at least.
And I love it. I'm not complaining, by the way.
I do too. I enjoy the hell out of it because it helps challenge my beliefs and assertions. And
exactly.
Does Miles Mikolas' lack of strikeouts. Though I mean he is striking out more people than he has in his career this year.
Yeah, 20% though. Let's be
Does
clear.
that mean he shouldn't be in this tier?
No, I think he is still a must start because 293 ERA, 106 whip, looking a lot like the 283, 107 from 2018. The core skills are looking very similar as well. The home run suppression is looking similar as well. When he's running hot, Miles Mikolas is an auto start type of guy, even with the lowered Ks. That's built into the price that you paid. You know that that's part of the profile. You should have plans for that if you drafted him. So, no, I don't think that that should take him out of this must start tier. That's part of what comes with Miles Mikolas is fewer Ks. But the talent is too rich to not start him every time out right now. I don't really see spots where I would take him out. Maybe an at Coors, if that's the only start he had that week. I could probably have somebody to replace him. But for the most part, unless I have a deep rotation, I can't see taking him out.
I mean, I can't either. And 6 of his 12 starts have gone over 6 innings.
We love the volume, I mean, too. And again, going back to the Fried Sandy Alcantara point, he can bridge some of the gap on his strikeout rate with a volume of innings if he can reach 180 or 200 again.
In that respect, he's like a poor man's Fried, which is
exactly,
which means he should probably be in this tier. All right, let's move into some of the usually starts.
Okay.
I've got some interesting names here. Let's start with Jeffrey Springs. I think if you just said talent alone, Jeffrey Springs might belong in the previous
start. Yep. Start.
Because he has been absolutely electric. My question becomes, how many innings do we think we're going to get from him rest of the way? Obviously, until he gets shut down or moved into a different role, you're going to continue to start him. That's why I think he may deserve to be in the must start tier. But like, what do you think we're going to get rest of the way? Because I'm pretty sure he's like right at where he threw last year.
Yeah, already 5 over with 44 and 2/3 last year. You know, Jeffrey Springs, a lefty reliever who's come out of the pen to be really good. You know, I said in the piece, he's what Drew Rasmussen fans think Drew Rasmussen is. And one thing I really like about it is I feel like they've actually pushed Springs a little bit more with back-to-back 90 plus pitch counts in his last 2 starts there, whereas Rasmussen's never seen that threshold. So I do think that there is maybe a little bit more juice here with 2 6-inning outings, going over 5 innings in 4 of the last 5 for Springs. I think that, if we're looking at him, he's 29 and he's kind of a random find for them. I don't know that they're going to be super keen to kind of massively manage his innings. I really think that he should be able to get, I don't know, like another 80, 90 innings, about 5 plus. What's that? Another 15 starts or so. And they can manage it a little bit. They can skip him a little bit here and there to get to the finish line. I don't know that they're going to have to like hard cut him at, 100 innings or anything like that with Jeffrey Springs. He hasn't reached that high in a long time, 2017, but he's 29. Like, what are they protecting? I think Jeffrey Springs is going to get a lot of opportunities, occasional skip or an occasional extra day off here and there to kind of manage it. But I think it gets to the finish line. By the way, this ranking isn't about the finish line, though. It's really about the next 3 to 4 weeks. And as such, you're probably right. He should have been in the must start because for the foreseeable future, I can't see taking that clown out of my lineup. Not a huge fan of things he has to say as a person, but I'm judging his fantasy talent and I'm putting him in the rotation and he's starting.
Yeah. I think he is a must start right now. And
I could see moving him up to those extra few points.
Honestly, I could see them continuing to push him as far as his body will let him go because they have so many other guys they need to manage. They want to manage Boz. They want to manage Rasmussen. They want to, manage Luis Patino, who's working his way back because these guys are part of the future, right? Like Springs, is part of the now.
Springs is absolutely part of the now. I mean, he's going to be 30 later this year. He's a reliever find. That this is not one of their next big finds. And Kluber, they got to kind of manage too as an older guy with his injury history. So McClanahan and Springs are like the only 2 guys that might have a little bit of the reins off. I think McClanahan can definitely get to the finish line with like 180 plus innings. But Springs, I think, could be a surprise finish line guy with like 130 130 to 150 innings. They might even turn him fully loose and let him get another 100 innings from here forward, which would be 150 total for the season.
I wouldn't be surprised at all, honestly.
Me neither.
All right. Carlos Carrasco. I love Carlos Carrasco. I've
Hard
always
not to, right?
loved Carlos Carrasco. Since they moved him out of the bullpen into the rotation in Cleveland, I've always just been a big fan of his. And it's hard not to root for a guy like him who's been through the kind of things he's been through in the last few years. I have a hard time figuring out what he's going to be start to start.
I think that's a fair take, and it's part of why he just fell out of the must start barely. But that usually start is like you're kind of looking for a reason to not start somebody. It has to be pretty severe. It has to be like a one start at Coors. But even that, by the way, he went 5 1/3, 1 run at Coors. Cookie did. So Carrasco, you're really not sitting him all that often. It's the rare occasion. Again, maybe you hit on a Kyle Wright and a couple other, and a Jeffrey Springs and a Nestor Cortez. So you have a deeper than expected rotation so that you can be judicious with somebody like Carrasco. And maybe you don't want to play him in a one start at Washington the way they've been hitting in that park. But for the most part, he's a set it and forget it guy. You just have to kind of take the ebbs and flows because I think he's matchup proof. When he's off, he's one of those guys. We talk about this all the time. When he's off, anybody can beat him. But when he's on, he can beat anybody. So I'm not really picking spots that much with Carrasco unless I have the luxury to do so. I'm usually just turning him loose.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about Carrasco is he has not been giving up home runs.
Exactly. So that's really mitigated the trouble that the 9.2 hits 9 could deliver.
Absolutely. So I don't know that I'd have him this high. I think I'd have him in the next tier. But I do love Carrasco, and it's great to see him coming back. Hopefully he can continue to stay healthy and really bridge the gap for the Mets.
Yes.
Like the Mets are doing this without DeGrom and Scherzer now.
And Scherzer. That's crazy, dude.
Like I don't want to see a Subway Series just because I don't like New Yorkers.
Yeah. But it would be awesome.
It would be. I mean, these are clearly the two best teams in baseball right now.
It'd be sick as hell.
I know Dodger fans are yelling at me, but
you guys are great too. But right now, it's the two New York teams, and
we haven't even seen the Mets get healthy necessarily yet.
Yeah. Can
you imagine these two rotations healthy in October or early November against each other?
Pure filth. And it'd be awesome to see. And I really hope that both teams make it to the finish line, mostly intact health-wise. I say mostly, obviously fully intact would be great, but it's not realistic. So I go for mostly because we want to see the best players in October. And yeah, Carrasco's been instrumental for them. Basically, by the way, I'll point out that our difference between the usually start tier, this is like the bridge into streamers. And this tier from 46 to 63 in like 10s and 12s are already a lot of streamers. The next tier is team streamers. So you just have Carrasco down a little bit, meaning you are a little bit more judicious with your choices, regardless of who you have on your roster. You're saying, I'm going to sit him maybe for a Dodgers start. I'm going to sit him for a Yankees Subway Series, weekend start. I might sit him at Washington. You're just being a little bit tougher on what passes as a start for you with Carrasco, right?
Yeah, I think I am. But for the most part,
it's fair.
Yeah. I do worry about like everything he's been through, and
he has blowups. Like he has big blowups. He got the 8 earned at the St. Louis. He had 5 earned and 4 2/3 at the Angels. Like there are blowups out there, but he has 4 starts with a 43 or lower game score. 3 of those are 32, 32, and 12. And then he has every other start, the 8 others ranging from a 54 to a 73 game score. And the game score is just an easy shorthand to tell you how good a start was. And the bottom line is he's been more good than bad, but he still has a 393 because the bad starts can hit you pretty hard still. So that's where Carrasco's at.
Yeah. He has only given up 1 home run at home.
Wow. That's really nice.
So 5 home runs this year. Only 1 of them have been at Citi Field.
We like Carrasco at home quite a bit then.
Yeah.
This next guy you're about to ask about, I have no idea, but let's go ahead and try to figure it out.
Yeah, no, we'll get there in a sec, though. Just want to point out the fact that there is a potential chance, if I'm remembering the dates of FPAS right, that we have World Series games.
Oh yeah, because it is that you
lower.
said November, and it is that first weekend in November is when FPAS is.
Yep.
So that'd be kind of dope. That'd be kind of dope to watch the World Series with the homies.
Yeah, that'd be
I
awesome.
Get behind that for sure.
Charlie Morton.
I don't know. Next. I'm just kidding.
Is so. I was not in on Charlie Morton this season. He was coming off
either,
of
but I wasn't out on him either. I wasn't like, don't.
I was pretty much. I was pretty much out. Where I ranked him, I was pretty much saying like I was not going to end up with him. I was just worried him coming off the Achilles injury. Broken leg, right?
Yeah, the broken leg from the playoffs.
Broken leg from the playoffs. Not getting like the full spring training. But he has just been so hard to peg and figure out. I feel like his talent should have him higher up on the list, but at some point the play on the field has to mean something. So far, he has a 5.67 ERA, a 1.48 WHIP, a 24.5% strikeout rate. He has deserved pretty much all of this. A 5 flat xERA this year. Do we feel like there is a chance that Morton turns it around?
Yes. And that's part of the frustrating part. How much of him have you watched this year? I know you don't have
not a ton.
I don't really have him either, but I've ended up watching a decent bit because he's been so wildly fascinating this year. Start to start, inning to inning, you see the flashes. It's been there. It's been there for particular starts, but even in the bad starts, you'll see glimpses of it for 2 innings here, and then a blow-up inning, and then another 2 innings after that. He is so close. Morton really highlights, and I put this in the article, he highlights the thin margin between a mid-3s ERA guy and a mid-5s ERA guy, because he's not that far off, and yet he's got a 5.67, 1.48 ERA whip, and people who have him on their fantasy team think he's the worst pitcher in the universe. But if you watch, and those skills that you just highlighted, the 24% K, 11% swinging strike, that's pretty good. 266 batting average is not terrible, but those blow-ups, when he has those blow-up innings, those blow-up 3 batters in one start, and it's 2 doubles and a homer type deal, has been killing him. And it's the inconsistency a lot of times with the curveball. It looks brilliant, and then it's like a fat hanger that I could hit, So I think he's close, and the stuff is too good to ignore, and that's why I still kept him up in this tier with another couple of infuriating guys like Blake Snell and Trevor Rogers, because there is a point where you have to quit putting a 5.67 ERA in your lineup, but I'm not there yet with Morton because I still think it's too good to not still have him on the team and use him very consistently, if not all the time. But he is in the usually start tier, so I understand sitting him sometimes. But for the most part, I still think you got to ride out with him because he is that close.
Oh,
it's not easy, but this is how you stick with, like, the easiest reference for him and Trevor Rogers to calm some people, and they won't necessarily come back the way this guy did, but it's Luis Castillo. Think about how awful it was last year with Luis Castillo, so deep into the season, Justin, through June. So that'd be 2 more weeks for this month to be through June. Actually, even more because we started a week earlier last year. So it'd be like 3 more weeks. He had a 5.14 ERA, Luis Castillo did. And he ended up with a 3.98, which no one's loving a 3.98, but to be at a 5.14 3 months into the season, he had a 3.51 the rest of the way. Morton could absolutely do that. Rogers could absolutely do that. He's the same thing. He's showing flashes, both he and Rogers, but they have not been consistent enough with the curveball for Morton, with the changeup for Rogers, and that's why the inconsistency has been there for both.
Yeah, it's crazy because, I mean, he only has this is his first homer per 9 over 1 since 2010.
Yep.
Back when he was a Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher.
And you see it there. The fly ball rate is way up. The ground ball rate has lost 12 points, and 10 of it has gone into the fly ball rate, and then the others in line drives. And it's not just hanging curves, but that's a part of it. The inconsistent curves, bad fastball. It's just, it's so volatile start to start, inning to inning for Charlie Morton. You don't see it very often, but when you do it, it's almost fascinating in a weird way, because you're like, he looked like the stud for 3 innings and then like a AAA pitcher for 2 of them.
And I
then
mean, the
boom, he's
hard
got
part is he does give up a ton of contact in the zone, or at least he has this year. It's his highest zone contact rate since he was a Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher. On the plus side, he doesn't give up a ton of hard contact. Like he does a really good job of limiting the hard contact. I tend to agree that I think if there was a tier between this one and the next one, which is team streamers, I feel like he belongs in that tier. Like, I don't know that he's a usually start, but he's not a team streamer. Like, he's better than that. Like, I don't know what would be.
So it would just mean that like
sometimes start.
Yeah, like usually start is pretty much just Coors and maybe like one of the New York teams on a one step. That's like basically what the usually start is.
The Dodgers.
So, yeah, the Dodgers. And the team streamer, you would start to add a few more teams or like
I'm not starting him against Philadelphia.
Yeah. So you would add Philly, you might add
the Giants.
The Giants are kind of scary. Obviously, Coors is part of the usually start as well. You might not do Cincy.
The Cardinals at home. Yeah.
Cardinals can be scary. So you're adding more. So he's not quite team streamer where you're like Tyler Mahle's a team streamer, never at home. I know he's throwing 3 good ones at home. I don't care. So I get it. Maybe like a mostly start in between the usually start and the team streamer. I get what you're saying. Like that, there is a little glob there that kind of transitions the two groups, and Morton could be part of that. Or just that your usually start is a little bit more rigorous than mine.
Yeah,
that
might
just be the difference. We might still be a lot closer than we think. Go ahead. Who's next?
Brady Singer is going to finish out the guys from this tier, and I'm surprised he's actually in this tier for you. I'm surprised he's not in the next tier in the team streamers. I've liked Brady Singer in the past. Did you see his start last night?
The 5 walk, yeah.
4 walks in a row.
Yeah, it was not great. He literally doubled his walk rate.
It was.
Of course,
he could not find the zone, but the beautiful part is he finished the inning and came back and was.
And that was the best part of it was that like he really showed that resolve to come back for Singer. He doubled his walk rate because his walk rate was at 2.7 for the season. Now it's at 5.4. So it's still
he had 4 walks coming into the game and had 5 walks in the game.
That is so crazy. But he also has had 24% K rate. He doesn't have a huge swing strike rate, but it's double digits. It's enough to get strikeouts. His home runs have been the biggest issue. And didn't he have a big home run game where he gave up like 3 to Houston? That's the bulk of his damage this year for Brady Singer. We might not be fully on a breakout, but I think he's worth having in every format right now in case it is the breakout. If it's not, then he goes back to like a team streamer type. But for now, there are hints that he could be breaking out based on some arsenal changes, a little spike in ground ball rate, a little spike in Ks, and a drop in walk rate. There are some things that have changed for Singer. But if not, then we just go back to team streaming him or even standard streaming him. But for now, I got a little green arrow next to Singer, even coming off of last night's start, because I took some positives from it, including what you said, bouncing back from the 4 straight walks.
Yeah, I mean, as a Giants fan, I was loving it. At the
of course,
time, I was like, "This is." It was super impressive to see him finish it out because I was shocked they didn't pull him.
I couldn't believe it because you thought for sure he's cooked, he's done. He cannot.
He could not find the zone, and he was not particularly close. And even the third out of that inning, was Jock. I think it was Jock Peterson, I think it was Jock Peterson.
I think it was
hitting an inside pitch, like it was at his hands, and he swung at it after the guy had just thrown. It was Brandon Crawford.
That's right. It was.
It was a bad pitch inside. Like Crawford should not. He had thrown 1 strike in his last 15 pitches.
He got him on like a down and in. Sinker that was not very hittable, and the 2 pitches before that were really bad.
Yeah, and so, but he came out the next inning, he was fine. So I mean, it's hard because he's one of these guys where I look and if I could just pick out certain aspects of what he does, and I could create a really, really good pitcher. But you can't do that. Like I can't just be like, oh no, I'm not gonna use these home runs that he gives up.
No. I don't want give me a better home run rate than that. Yeah, it's like let me just change little things, and it looks easy too. It's like stop using this pitch so much and use this one. It's like, well, it's not as easy as that. But he does have this changeup that he's using more. It hasn't been good, but it is a true third pitch.
Yes.
And as Eno always says, it's better to have a bad pitch than to not have it at all. It is still more valuable to have something that you can go to at least 10% of the time. That's what it is to have a pitch. You have to throw it at least 10%. It's better that Singer has this changeup than to just be a 2-pitch guy. At least there's something in the back of their head right now that, oh shit, he might throw this changeup. So I agree with you. I like little bits and pieces of what Singer's doing right now, but I do believe that he could hone those other ones, cut down that home run rate, and take off this summer. I think there is some big upside with Singer.
And I mean, here's the thing, like, there is a legitimate chance that you did not get the last 3 starts, that you did not use him, that you've been, and if you did, he's pitched, a 2.50 ERA for you. Now, that's not fair to do in terms of the analysis. What I will say is, I don't think the breakout is here yet, but I do think it's coming. I don't know if it's coming this year.
Yeah, it might not be this year, but you got to take a shot in case it is.
I do think that Brady Singer is going to be in a must-start tier at some point.
I agree. I fully agree. I really, really like him, and I like him for a longer term too, beyond this year. Keeper leagues and such, I should say.
Let's talk about some team streamers. One I don't believe is a team streamer, and I hate you. The other 2 are just really interesting guys, and I don't think we've gotten to talk about them. Let's start with Tyler Mahle, who is my boy, and you have him, I think it's 71, if I'm remembering off the top of my head correctly. Why do you hate my boy Tyler Mahle?
Why do you think I hate him? Because he still can't pitch at home, and I'm not swayed by 3 games at home. They were great. I appreciate that. And as somebody who does sit him, I've missed all 3: San Francisco, Washington, Arizona. I think I put the Arizona one in my DC because of the other 2 had been good. And I was like, fine, I'll just see, but I'll probably get burnt. And he was fine against Arizona, but I don't start him at home. He's a 5.03 ERA at home, Justin. I still don't trust Tyler Mahle at home. And that's why he's a team streamer. How can you trust him with that home run rate?
I don't know how you can have Charlie Morton in the usually starts and Tyler Mahle in the must. Maybe he is another guy that belongs in this tier in between.
Yeah. I mean, 53 to 71 is not that far of a split, though. I will be clear. These 2 tiers are pretty close.
Yeah. I went, I kind of went through the bottom tiers, and like, I don't want to like badger you over 5 or 6 spots on a guy, especially in these tiers, or just in general for the most part. I think it's silly unless there's someone like not in the elite tier or is in the elite tier that obviously shouldn't be. But this was the name that jumped out at me when I scrolled down. I went, no, I like Tyler Mahle way too much. I think
that's fair. I mean, you see he's down from 47. I'm not an anti-Mahle guy completely, but I just don't know how I'm supposed to feel comfortable starting him in that park. Even coming off of 3 gems there, San Francisco, Washington, Arizona, he's put up a 193 ERA with 24 Ks, 7 walks, and 18 2/3, and just 2 homers. I get that. That's awesome for Tyler Mahle. But it still only brought his home ERA down to 5.08 for his career. Like, that's still very bad. And home run guy in home run park, it's still 5.01 for this year, by the way. Just this year's home ERA is still 5.01. I can't start him at home, Justin. Tyler Mahle, team streamer.
Please trade him.
Yes,
please trade him anywhere other than Colorado.
I was going to say, we figured out a deal. The Rockies want him. They would do some shit like that. Both teams would do some shit like that.
Oh, trade him to my Giants.
Or the Tigers. We need a starter.
Well, you guys aren't competing. I don't think you're trading for anybody like that.
I mean, he would still have. I mean, he has team control though, right? So
he is a free agent in 2024, so he's got another year after this.
Yeah, the Tigers can get him.
This is more of a Giants move.
Shut up.
Get him over the Giants. Get him in Oracle. That would be beautiful.
I mean, that'd be amazing. It would be truly amazing. This guy,
he's gonna end up on the Dodgers. I'm gonna be upset.
That's true, but he would be good.
Okay, so Edward Cabrera threw the fastest changeup in MLB history the other night.
It's so gross.
And there were so many not suitable for work gifts out there, and I don't know that I've ever seen fantasy baseball Twitter lose their minds over an individual pitch and someone's fantasy value. He then goes out and just gets shellacked
Yeah,
the next
by
start.
Houston.
So he obviously belongs in this tier. I have no argument with this tier, but I think this is is Edward Cabrera the guy he's always been, which is amazing upside, but there's no way you can trust him start to start necessarily. Or is there going to be more?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, there might be, but we don't know. And it's a much less refined version of what we were saying with Singer, where we said the breakout's coming, but we don't know when. I think that with Cabrera, but that could be 2024. So he's somebody that I'm going to keep betting on because the upside is so rich, and that if and when it does pop for Edward Cabrera, you're talking must start status, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the upside is legit gem stud on a par with Pablo and Sandy and what Sixto was for at least a brief flash and what Trevor Rogers was last year. Like that sort of caliber is where Edward Cabrera is at. Not right now though. So he's a team streamer. I don't ever want to put him back in the pool to let somebody else get their grubby little mitts on him, but I cannot start him consistently without the fear just, in the pit of my stomach the whole time that he can blast me with an 8 earned run outing. But I love Edward Cabrera. And so I am fully in as far as having him on a roster. Just, you don't have to start him every time. There's no need to take that risk.
I mean, I feel like him and Hunter Green and let's pick another guy from the tier that fits this mold. Josiah Gray are the 3 Spider-Man gifts all pointing at each other.
Absolutely. And you have to have all 3. They can deliver such pain, but when it's good, you dream on the upside like I have the next ace, right? They've all had that flash where you're like, I have the next freaking ace. Then they snap you back to reality. Then they build you up again, snap you back. But one of these days, they won't snap you back, and they're just going to be good. I hope for all 3 because they're all 3 really good.
Yeah. All right. Let's finish out with old friend Michael Wacha.
Big friend of mine. I love this guy. Go ahead.
Because Wacha, if you just look at the surface stats,
God tier.
Waka's been amazing this year. He's got a 2.33 ERA.
Get out of here with that.
Flat whip. Now it's only a 17% strikeout rate.
So bad.
Like, how bad is the fall going to be? Because I have been streaming him in a number of leagues for quite a while. But this is like Martin Perez. This is like
exactly
like this. Like, there at some point is going to be a curtain that is pulled, and you see the monster. that is about
behind
exactly.
Now, here's the thing: will it be 7 earned runs in 2 innings, or will it be gradual? 4 innings, 4 earned here, 5 innings, 4 earned here. It could be both. Like, that's the tough part, and that's the difficult.
You better hope it's the slow one, because the slow one will allow you to just get
it out. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying by that. And that's the tough part about starting guys like this. When you see them on your wire and you know in your heart that it will not last, are you taking on a hot potato that could be a 9 earned run bomb? And then you didn't even get the good work either, right? You pick up somebody like Wacha or Perez in the middle of their good start, and then you get the bomb. That's why I try not to mess with these too much. Obviously, sometimes you have to. Sometimes you got to take a shot. I've had some Kyle Bradish, some Tyler Wells this year. I've taken my shot on guys who didn't really have the skills to suggest they were breaking out, but they had some good work. That's where Wacha's at, though. I hate to be, the wet blanket, but if this isn't all on the 213 BABIP and 0.83 homer 9, then I don't know fantasy baseball. And like, I'm pretty sure I'm not the best player, but I know fantasy baseball pretty well. And I can't be convinced that it's anything but those 2 factors driving Wacha's success right now, which he can contribute to somewhat, but you just can't maintain a 213. And he probably Wacha specifically won't maintain an 8% homer to fly ball rate when he's a career 13%.
He is tied with Logan Webb and Pablo Lopez for the least amount of hard contact given up this year.
So that certainly helps with that BABIP, but there's so much contact that eventually even the soft contact is going to find spots. That's the
Yes.
thing. He just allows too much contact. This is Michael Walker we're talking about. Just too much contact to stay this hot. So it has to come back. And it might only come back to say that Sierra, where's the 461. And if you can take a 461, 130 whip from here forward, you can use that. If you're in an AL only or a really deep mixer, then have Waka. But otherwise, you are playing with fire in everything that is like 15 and shallower. So be careful, Justin.
Yeah, he's also 18th in zone contact, most amount of zone contact allowed, right in front of Cal Quantrill, in the same tier as like Madison Bumgarner, Bruce Zimmerman, Marco Gonzalez.
And
so
all those guys are those terrifying guys that when they get hot, you're so scared to pick them up because you're like,
I was riding Bumgarner earlier this season too.
I had the Zim going for a while, the Bruce Zimmerman.
I was.
It's always tough with these players because on some level you can't leave them out on the wire too long. You're like, they are continuing to put up good starts, but I don't know. I try to lean away from those guys at all costs. Sometimes you just get into a spot where you're like, I got to pick up somebody, and these are who are going. But this is why
I picked him up for a 2-start last week. It worked out, but
it worked out really well.
Yeah.
But you were terrified, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I was able to do it is because one of the starts was against the Angels in the mid of like their worst ever.
And he dropped a shutty on them.
Yeah,
a freaking
so
shutty, dude.
I needed it.
So that was huge. But yeah, I love Waka. I always have since his days with St. Louis. So I root for him, but you just got to be honest about these performances, and they cannot last at this level. 81% left on base rate. Also doing a lot of heavy lifting for Waka. He will regress. I hope it's soft regression as opposed to, a 9 earned run shellacking.
Yeah. Last one that I didn't put on the list.
Sure.
How dare you besmirch Patrick Corbin? No, I'm just.
Oh, you're lucky I even put him on the list.
I'm just joking. Do you feel bad at all for ranking the two Zach Thompsons next to each other?
No, that one was on purpose. So the two J Grays, Josiah and John, that was organic. Thank God that was organic. I left them, and then I put the two Zach Thompsons together. Yeah,
I got yelled at on the road in the right up comment section the other day because I put the wrong. You
put the H and the K. You mixed them.
Yeah, I mixed them up.
Oh man. You can't do that. You're gonna really upset those Zachs. I did put those two together because it was the deep leaguer. Like I didn't even do any write-ups on those guys, and I thought it was funny to put those together. But the two J Grays, so the way I went through it was I was just putting like guesstimation numbers, and sometimes I'd give the same guy the same number. I'd put like 70 on 4 different guys because they would be in that area. So I did all that for all 145 pitchers, and then when I did my first sort, Josiah and John Gray were back to back, and I was like, well, now I have to leave that, because I do believe they belong in the same tier, so I have to keep
when Sonny Gray comes off the IL. Do you feel like
right above them?
Okay,
yeah. Triple Gray there, because I do think he is a team streamer. So I wouldn't do it just to like if I didn't believe that the talent was the same. I'm not doing it for a meme specifically, but once they're in the same tier, I have to put name conventions that back to back. Like when I put Eflin, Zach Davies, and Zach Plesac back to back in a ranking either last winter or this one. I don't remember which, but yeah, I did that one time too. So if those things just happen, I stick with it. But in deeper tiers like the deep leaguers one, I will force it. I will freely admit that.
All right. That's all I got for you.
Hey man, I appreciate that. That was a lot of fun. I can't wait to see yours, and we'll do some comparisons either on Friday or next Tuesday. But I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Like I said, I put a lot of work into it. I hope people enjoy looking over. I don't expect everyone to agree with everything. I love the debates. I'll be in the comments. Check it out on the site. And until then, Justin, I'll talk to you on Friday.
I promise for everyone, I will have not just my starting pitcher ranks update. I will try to do an entire ranks updates available on the Patreon. My in-season ranks don't go on the site.
Yes.
So you have to be a Patreon member, and we should do a watch party here.
We need to do a watch party, and we still need to do a Q&A. So we'll set both those up this month. Okay. And I will try to get my position rankings updated within the next week to 10 days as well on the Patreon, not on the website. Right. So just starting pictures on the website for me, because rankings take me forever. I don't have a quick process with them. So if I re-rank the entire league, like every position, it'd be nice to have like a system that like did that for us, but we don't. We have to go individually. But even if I did, I'd still have to do the write-ups, which is so much research for me because I'm just not quick. I don't have a quick way of doing it. But
I don't
anyway,
either.
great talking with you, and I'll talk to you Friday afternoon.
Take it easy.